This is CNN Breaking News.
All right, we do have breaking news. CNN has learned that an arrest has been made in the Washington, D.C. January 6th pipe bomb investigation. You will remember that on the morning of the riots around the Capitol, there were also pipe bombs that were found at both the Republican National Committee and the Democratic National Committee headquarters. CNN has now learned that an arrest has been made. Let's get right to CNN's Evan Perez for the latest on this. Evan, what are you learning?
Yeah, John, this has been a long-running investigation, a 5-year investigation that the FBI has focused dozens of agents. They've looked at thousands of tips that have come in, video, hundreds of pieces of video. And this morning, the FBI has made an arrest, we're told. We expect to see some charges later today. But this is obviously something that has eluded the FBI despite all of their efforts. Part of the problem has been that you see some of the grainy video. I think we have some of that that the FBI has released from the placement of that bomb. These bombs were placed outside of the DNC headquarters, outside of the RNC headquarters. These were just a couple blocks from the U.S. Capitol. And when they were discovered, what happened was the police from the Capitol complex rushed over there, and that happened to be just at about the time that some of the crowds of Donald Trump supporters who were outside the Capitol began breaking through some of the cordons to break into that building and attack the Capitol on January 6th. So obviously it's been the source of a lot of conspiracies over the years, but finally the FBI believes that they have the person who planted these bombs. Now, the bombs were viable according to the FBI, and if they had gone off, they could have harmed someone, and that included Kamala Harris, who was then the vice president, and she was incoming vice president. And the concern, obviously, was that she passed about 20 feet away from where one of these bombs was planted near the DNC headquarters. The FBI has tried everything from releasing different pieces of video from the alleys and some of the streets scenes there. You'll see the bomber walking along the streets. He was wearing some very distinctive black and gray Nike Air Max shoes. The FBI even found that there was about 25,000 of those shoes that were sold around the time of the placement of those bombs, and they still could not find this person. So we'll expect to hear more from the Justice Department later today, possibly some charges against this person, which will explain a little bit about how they went about finally solving this case. And obviously something that the FBI has been very focused. Even the new incoming leadership of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, they brought in a new team, set of fresh eyes to look at the evidence. And it appears that has brought forward some new clues that help them solve this case today, John.
Evan, I have to ask, because there have been a lot of conspiracy theories one way or another about this investigation. Do you have any information about the identity and possibly, the implications of who this person is at this time?
Well, if it is who we believe it is, it should at least put to bed some of this conspiracy. At least theoretically, it should calm some of those conspiracies. If you remember, certainly on the right wing, in right wing social media, there's been a lot of speculation that this perhaps was an inside job. It's a theory that even Dan Bongino, the now Deputy Director of the FBI, he even mentioned some of this on his podcast, saying that it was possible the FBI knew who this bomber was, but wasn't making an arrest because this person was an insider. Again, no indication that that is the case from what we know so far. We don't have an identification of that person yet from the FBI, from the Justice Department. But from everything we know, it seems to indicate that this is not somebody who is an insider. Again, we're waiting to hear more from prosecutors, from the FBI in the coming hours.
Evan Perez, terrific reporting. Obviously, we're standing by for more information. You are working your sources. I am sure we will hear from you soon. In the meantime, I'm joined by CNN legal analyst Elliot Williams. What charges? What kind of charges are we talking about here?
Right. It's the explosives, John. It would probably be for, well, what's on the table? The creation of an explosive device, the manufacture of an explosive device, perhaps conspiracy to construct some such thing. And also the potential destruction of property. Now, all of these would be attempts because of the fact that the bomb did not go off. But the individual could be charged for attempted destruction of property. Now, a lot of this will depend on what the FBI actually has. What do you know? Did he send emails? Did he send texts to sort of indicate what his plans were? But we'll see.
Let me ask kind of an esoteric question here. This happened January 6th. Yes. What if this person was at the riots on Capitol Hill on January 6th, for which everyone has now been pardoned?
That's one of the many constitutional questions we don't know the answer to. Would this be considered a January 6th related crime of the sort of destruction of property at the Capitol, or something totally different? Now, again, that becomes a political question as much as a legal one. Does the president really wish to say that someone who wanted to bomb both the RNC, or potentially bomb both the RNC and the DNC, ought to be pardoned for that offense? That's an open question.
I will say the fact that we are going to get an announcement of charge, the public announcement, indicates that the Justice Department doesn't think so.
Right.
Probably.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
However, it's something to think about. It is something to think about when we still don't know the identity of this person or what they then did later that day.
One other big thing, there is no federal domestic terrorism charge. You can't be charged for being a terrorist in the United States. Now, that could be an enhancement at sentencing if it is determined that this was designed to coerce or intimidate a civilian population or influence government, which kind of seems like it was. If you're going after the RNC and the DNC, then that could bump up sentencing of this individual if he or she is convicted quite dramatically.
All right, this is a major development. Obviously, we still got a lot of questions. More information, no doubt, will be coming. Our thanks to Evan Perez on the reporting. Our thanks to Elliot Williams for helping us maybe understand some of the consequences.